Running 101.
Running 101.
Running 101.
Hello everyone, I'm Nads and welcome to another episode of Running 101. Once again, I hope everyone's doing well. So after coming off two back-to-back training blocks, right now I'm just trying to keep it all consistent. What I have started to do is focus on the foundations of regular stretching. I have to say it keeps me injury prone, even though I'm not running as much as I was a few months ago. Another thing I am chasing is a park run target of 25. Trust me, it's easier said than done when your local park run gets flooded around this time of year, and going to your next closest park run is just not going to happen. I'm very honest with myself about that. Moving on, so today's guest does not only bring experience, but also wisdom along with advice, inspiring many, keeping up with their commitments, and having displayed multiple examples of their dedication to family, friendship, work, and of course the team spirit, which all reflects in their brotherhood and community of running. Ali Momin, welcome to Running 101.
Thank you, Nads. Thank you.
How's it going? What's been up lately?
So thanks, Nads, having me on. I feel like that was maybe a bit too much. I'm just trying to like process the words that you've ascribed to me. So I'm just
No,
processing
it has to be said. It has to be said. And let me take this moment, to just say thank you so much for putting some time aside. We've been trying to do this for a while, and it's been pending. So thanks in advance.
No. It's been long overdue, and I think if there's been a delay, it's definitely been on my end of like just trying to nail me down, which I know is quite a difficult thing. As you know, Nads, you know, life just gets in the way of things as always, really. So yeah, but it's great to be able to sit down and chat to you and finally do this properly.
Good stuff. So what's been happening lately? Obviously, it hasn't been too long since you came back from New York. So obviously, what's it been like since?
Yeah, so obviously New York was last month. Feels like a lifetime away. It does feel like a lifetime away. It's probably about 6 weeks ago, really. I mean, yeah, the New York in itself was extremely special. It was probably the best marathon that I've ever done. I'm not sure anything could top it. And I've done London twice as well, and I thought surely there's nothing better than London, but there is, and New York is almost like 10 times bigger. So yeah, so come back from New York, and to be honest, now it's just really been taking it easy. Quite frankly, I achieved everything I wanted to achieve in 2026 or 2025. Sorry, I'm already thinking about next year. I achieved everything I wanted to achieve in 2025. And for me now, it's all about like rest and recuperating. Like I really haven't done that much running, and I don't intend to do that much running in the coming months as well. So on the running front, it's really just been like taking it easy, probably looking to start getting back into the gym and lifting a bit more heavy again moving forward. But yeah, that's what's been going on since New York.
Cool. No, sounds good. And yeah, if I have to take a page out of that, I'd probably say the same thing. So as you know, coming back from Berlin in September, just been taking it easy, and I've had a little more. I've had a little longer than you have. So yeah, no, just trying to get into the ring of it, and consistency is what I'm chasing right now.
And it's
Great.
about being sensible, right? And we're probably going to touch on
Absolutely.
a
Yeah,
lot. We're going
yeah.
to probably touch on a lot of that today.
Yeah. I mean, you wanna keep it sensible, like you just put it quite well. You don't want to push yourself unnecessarily. I mean, if you're not going for anything, just take it easy, relax. The body's been through enough. We couldn't
Definitely,
say it anymore, actually.
definitely.
So Ali, tell us a bit about yourself, your background.
Yeah. So my background. So I'm a father of three. Um, Professionally speaking, I work in the healthcare charity sector. That's been my background. That's been my space for a number of years. I trained in academia. I did a PhD. I like to throw that in every now and then. Quite a powerful thing. But yeah, my background is mainly working in the healthcare charity sector for a number of years. I love it. Working in the charity space, being able to see the difference that money makes in the field that I work in the healthcare, it's just like it's so rewarding. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's my background. That's what I do for a sort of a professional living. got 3 kids, feel very, very blessed. I don't know where the time is going. My kids are 16, 12, and 8. I almost feel as though like my older one is
Wow,
almost got
nice.
me as well. She's like pretty much there now, A levels next year, and then university, and that will be it. So yeah, I just don't know where the time is going.
Well, quite a bit there. You've got your hands full, outside of the running world as well. But yeah, seem to be living up to all the expectations and keeping it all going. So all the best with that further down the line too. I'm sure we'll keep a close eye on that. So let's get to the point. Where did all the running come from, and how did it all start from?
It's a good question, lads. Where did it all start? So it all started in February 2019, or around that time. It was around February 2019. Um, and I suppose you probably want to know how did it start? It sort of started from, it was like a culmination of like a number of events happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try and rattle through them really quickly. Number one, I just realized like I wasn't as fit as I used to be. So I used to play a lot of football. I used to play a lot of football with a guy called Arif Sadiq, who we know quite well through Muslim Runners. And I just realized that football was getting harder and harder and harder and harder. And just was like not able to sort of maintain the stamina as well. So there was that going on. A couple of my friends had some major health scares in their life around about 6, 7 years ago. And that was a bit of an eye opener. I was sort of turning late 30s, early 40s at that point, and I was like, okay, actually, like looking after your health is becoming increasingly more and more important as well. And finally, like I said, I used to play a lot of football,
Hmm.
but like increasingly, I wasn't getting as much joy out of it as I used to as I was maybe younger. But I still wanted to have a sport to play, and I said to my wife, you know, what is the one thing that I can do that will keep me fit, keep me active, keep me engaged? It's really simple, and I just like, you know, can it's not team based or anything. It doesn't require a book. I can just go out and do. And she was like, go for a run or go for a cycle. And I was like, well, I haven't got a bike, so I went for a run. And then, as they say, the rest is history.
Wow. So okay, to 2019 you started. What did you start with? Like you know, I mean, was that it? You literally just started running. You just went for it, or a
Yeah, it was
particular
literally
distance,
it.
or you started chasing something?
No, it was literally it. And if Arif Sadiq was here, he'll tell you, because obviously he was running well before me, and I've obviously lent on him for support for a number of years. So when I first started to get into it, you know, I told him like I've started. Any tips and advice? He'll tell you, you know, I used to run with my football boots because I didn't have proper running shoes. Um,
I hope they didn't
so
have studs on them.
no, they didn't have studs on it. They were
Thank God for
Astros.
that.
They were
Nice.
Astros, but you know that was like the only pair of that's the only thing that I had that I could run in. So yeah,
Mm.
like where did it start? I literally just went for a run around the block. Literally, I think it was like maybe 2.5 or 3K. It was really, really painful. Like I had to stop many times. Everything seemed to hurt. I was mainly sprinting. That was probably the problem as well. And I was just like, what the hell has happened here? So it
Mm.
didn't start off with Couch to 5K. It didn't start off with a park run. It didn't start off with a friend, but it was literally I just went for a run around the block. And then I just decided that actually I try and do that maybe every other day and see if I could get faster and faster, right? And I didn't have a smartwatch back in the day, so I'd look at my phone, see what the time was, maybe put a stopwatch on, go around, come back and go, oh, it's maybe 15 seconds faster. A few weeks later, you're like 20 seconds faster, a minute faster. So that's really where it started. So it wasn't even like a race. It wasn't a couch to 5K. It was literally just running around the block and seeing like, can I get faster? Can I get faster? And then obviously you quite quickly you plateau after like maybe a month or so, right? You're just like, I'm not
Mm.
getting faster now. And then
Right.
it became more about like I became more intrigued about how far can I go on my feet. So that first run was, you know, like I said, it was running about 3K just around the block. And then it was like, can I do 4K? And then it was like, can I do 5K? And then it was like, can I go to that place and come
Mm.
back? And there's just a fascination of like being able to go a bit further with your feet to a place that previously I would have even like considered going to on my feet was the thing that like drove me.
Yeah.
So I still remember when I did my first ever like 8K run. Really, I went from like you know where I lived to another little place and came back, and I told my missus, and she was like, "Are you nuts? Like you went from there to there and ran back?" And I was like, "Yeah, man," and it was absolutely great. So that's where it all like really started for me. Like I said, it was no event, no couch to 5K. It was just sort of getting around the block and then just going, let's see how far I can go. And then slowly you just sort of fall into it, really.
Not a bad way to start, I would say. I mean, like, you weren't overwhelmed with trying to get somewhere. You had no timeline, you had no goal in mind. You just wanted to push yourself in slowly, not instantly, obviously, but you pushed yourself again and again to just see where you could stretch it to. And that's not a bad way to start at all. I would say that's actually quite a good way to get yourself going before you understand what your limitations are, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. And you know what? It was more just the enjoyment. Like I think I just
Mm,
enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed seeing my time get a little bit faster. I think I enjoyed seeing me go a little bit further with distance. So, what it
mm,
all comes back to is it was just that sheer enjoyment
mm.
and just the opportunity of being outdoors, doing something that felt really good, that you knew was good for your health anyway.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say you didn't have a smartwatch then, because today, brother over here runs with two watches, doesn't he?
That is so true, man. That is so true. You know what? To be fair to me, I've put the other one away now for a little bit. I haven't actually taken it out. I wore it in New York as a backup just in case. But I haven't actually worn the second watch for quite a long time now. And so I think it's maybe back to one watch now. But, that's actually make a really good point.
Let's see how long that lasts. Yeah, might have to dust it off soon. You never know.
I have to dust it off soon. I don't think anytime soon.
Cool. So, no, Ali, it definitely sounds great so far. And one thing that I do want to look at is we're not bound by running equals how many marathons you've done, right? Obviously not. It's more
Mm,
about being out there. That's the type of those are the points that I've been making. That's the type of education that I received, and I think that's the most
definitely.
ideal way to run with it, right? You just want to take it slow, see what you're capable of, but at the same time, it's all about just being out there to begin with. Health and fitness is the most important thing. That being said, I wouldn't mind running through what your achievements are over the last couple of years. So obviously, your first marathon in London 22. Now, what how did you start off and build your way up to go for your first ever marathon?
So yeah, really interesting. So I suppose main achievements for me are like, I suppose, once you run the marathon, half marathons, not to say that they become insignificant, because I still think anyone that runs a half marathon, a 10K or a 5K, it's a personal achievement, right? It's still really phenomenal. So yeah,
Mm,
so I suppose for me, my first marathon, as you said, came in October 22. It was London Marathon. It was the year that the marathon was moved from April to October. So
mm,
there's a couple of things, I suppose, at the time, really. I've been running for 3 years. I've done quite a few half marathons by then. I never really had the desire to do a marathon because I felt quite comfortable at the half marathon distance, and like marathon just felt like too much. But I think the fact that London Marathon that year wasn't in Ramadan, right? Because, well, yeah, it wasn't in Ramadan. It
yeah, I
fell
think they pushed it out to October in
it fell
22,
in April
didn't they?
because it was a spillover from a COVID year.
Mm,
For some reason, I don't know, it was a bit of a moment where I just went, you know what, like there probably is going to be no better time to do London Marathon again until for like, unless you're going to wait like another 7 or 8 years until like the whole training cycle is out of Ramadan. So there was that. And I think like, in the end, once you've done like so many half marathons, you just think like, like maybe I should just go for that holy grail in running and just like try and at least do one marathon. And if I was ever going to even do one marathon in my life, it was going to have to be London for me, the city that I was born and bred in, right? So it was kind of like, again, like a combination of things came together for me. And I just thought, you know what, the timing is right, the time of year is right. I've been running for 3 years now. I've done lots of half marathons. It's now feels like a good time to step up. So
mm.
yes, the London Marathon was my first marathon. I think the less said about it, the better. Very, very, very humbling experience. But in a strange way, I fell in love with the marathon distance for some reason, even though it was like probably the hardest thing I ever did. And I thought, there were points in that run where I was just like, I'm never doing this ever again. But you see the Instagram memes, you know how it goes. Like you go, I'm never doing this again, and then after a few
Yep.
days, you're like, I didn't do so bad, and then after maybe a week, or so you're like, I did really well, and then after a month or so, you're like, where's the next race coming?
Yep, you get itchy feet, don't you?
You get itchy feet. So if you go back to achievements, London Marathon, tick, done, dusted. But I felt like I had unfinished business with the marathon. Um, and then, there was a few of us, we were sitting and talking. I remember around October, November after London Marathon, they were like, there's an opportunity to do Berlin next year, let's just book it in and get it locked in and book the flights from now. And we were like, okay, let's go for it. So
Mm.
Berlin, did Berlin, and then obviously when you start on that track, you're going down the route of the majors, right? we'll
Yeah,
see
I
where we
guess pretty
we'll
much,
see where
pretty
we end up
much.
with the majors as well. And then it also then became the opportunity was actually like, there's opportunity to travel the world here,
Mm.
and go to places as well. So I did Berlin in 23.
Yep.
I did Tokyo in 24. I did London again through Muslim Runners. Really grateful for them and the work that they've done. Gave me a spot in 25 this year as well. And then I
Hmm.
did New York this year, uh, in November last month as well. So yeah, I've done 5 marathons, 4 of the majors. We'll see where the journey goes. At the moment, I'll be honest with you, it's just about like I just love. I think I love the process of each one. The training process, the training cycle, the structure, the discipline that it brings, and then obviously the race day experience is just really really great as well.
Yeah, to be honest, if I'm to reflect back to London 25, I was lucky enough to be out there with you. Was able to touch base with you on the advice, on the training plan, on the ins and outs, and getting a good feel of building up to what my expectations should be of 2025 of London Marathon this year, earlier this year too. Yeah, no, it was great, to be honest. It was great to be in that same training block with you. Obviously, we weren't able to make it happen side by side, but yeah, no, it was almost like we were training at the same time, to be honest, keeping an eye on each other's progress and stuff. Obviously, Aminor was able to touch base on his experience earlier with running 101, but yeah, no, it was great for the three of us to kind of lock in quite regularly from time to time and bounce advice, ideas, and training experiences off one another too. And I think
Exactly.
that really goes a long way.
I think for me, like, that for me, that's like one of the beauties of running, of like being able to connect with people, as you said, like
Mm.
go on that journey together. Like, yes, we run different races, but the emotional roller coaster, we experienced it together over 4 months, supporting each other. Even on race day, we saw each other, at the end. So, for me, that's like just that opportunity to connect with community. It's just that's the thing I love about running.
Definitely. Let's move on a little bit. So obviously those are your achievements, which are great. And like yeah, like you do turn back and reflect on your foundations from time to time as well, which is always good. That's the best pace to kind of hit back and start all over again. One thing I would ask you is because you started pre-COVID, you must have seen a lot of change for the good, for the worse, right? From 2019 all the way to how things have kind of boomed post-COVID.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have been, I suppose, maybe a little bit, just a little bit ahead of the game. I wouldn't want to say like I was completely ahead of the game, because I think that some people have been running for many many years.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely, yeah.
but definitely like starting out in 2019 and seeing where running has gone now, like the biggest thing that has changed, and as you've touched on as well, is just that boom in running. It's almost like I almost, but sometimes I wonder, like, this is going to end at some point. Like, it's not possible for it to keep growing as it is. But just a massive, massive explosion in how popular running has become over the last like 6 or 7 years since I started as well. When I first started out, don't get me wrong, it was popular, but now it just seems to be almost like everyone is in on it, which is great. Don't get me wrong, like it's absolutely great, because I think it's one of the most simple. I think it's one of the most simple, one of the best public health interventions,
Mm.
um, that this country has ever seen. Just the amount of good things it does for your physical health, for your mental health as well. But yeah, that's probably been the biggest thing that I've seen or noticed in terms of change since I first started running, is just seeing that exponential growth. And like
Yeah,
people who you thought would never run in their life, like you might have written them off, but they're into running.
yeah. I mean, it's open doors for everyone, right? Everyone's welcome. Everyone can be a part of it. Regardless of what ability you have, regardless of what culture you represent. Yeah, that's another thing. Representation is out there like immensely, right? For every single type of background, race, size, whatever you want to call it, whatever your brand is, it's out there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think, you touched on a couple of things really well, and obviously some of them are more relevant to us as well. But that diversity in running, certainly in the London scene, I think whatever is happening in the London scene with all the different run clubs, there is just so much great diversity. And to
Mm.
see that diversity in your city reflected in the running culture is just like a really, really powerful thing because, the saying is true until you see someone who looks like you, feels like you, talks like you, do it, you won't do it. That's just the reality, really.
Mm.
And seeing that growth, and now going to an event and knowing that you might bump into somebody from Muslim runners or from that run club or from that run club
Yeah.
and that run club, it just feels so much more inclusive. You feel like, yeah, actually, I want to be there. Whereas I still remember the first half marathon that I did. I remember probably, it was a trail half marathon, Leighton Buzzard, and I don't think there was a single person that looked like me, and I won't lie that I did feel a little bit out of place. So seeing that diversity, it's just like I said, it's really really great to see, really powerful.
You mentioned run clubs over there. Obviously, there's one that is quite close to you and one that you represent. Would you like to give a shout out?
Yeah, so I'd like to give out a big shout out to the Stanmore Jaffreys group. For those that don't know, Stanmore Jaffreys is a sports community based in northwest London, and they have had a very active sports community for a very very long time. And myself and Aris Sadiq belong to the same community, and he approached me around about sort of 5 years ago during COVID, and he was like, "How come we don't have a running arm to our sports club, but we've got everything else?" And I was like, "Arif, don't bother me. It's not my problem. If you want to do something about it, why don't you do something about it?" Um, but then, as somebody plants the seed in your mind, you actually think, actually, maybe I could do something about it as well. So
Mm.
with his support and obviously with my support as well, we both bought running to Stanmore Jaffreys. It was quite interesting when we brought it on initially. We got a very lukewarm reception. We got the whole very much like, running's not for us. We don't do running. We play volleyball, we play table tennis, we play cricket. Like, it's really not going to work out. But to see the growth of that club and to see where it started from where it is now, it's like really, really like honestly, it's so humbling to see like how many people have taken up the sport, how many lives have been changed, how many people we've been able to support. So yeah, obviously that run club holds a specific special place in my heart for me.
If we were talking about the growth of that, because you just mentioned on that, just a bit over there. How many are we talking?
Yeah, so like in terms of the growth of that run club, I mean, look, it just started off with me and Arif, so it's two, right? And
Hmm.
I've like lost track of like how many people have either run a marathon, done a 5K, a 10K,
Hmm.
or a half marathon. But I reckon it's probably in excess of over 100 people. In terms of how many of those have then gone on to like become regular runners, it's probably a smaller proportion. But the number of people that have put themselves forward and said, "I want to do Couch to 5K, I want to
Hmm.
do Vitality 10K, I want to do Big Half, I want to do Hackney Half, I want to run London Marathon." It's just sort of like snowballed year on year, and you think like, okay, like, are we reaching the peak here? Like, when is this going to stop? But just more and more people just keep putting their hand up, and I think it's that ripple effect, right? Again, like if you see your friend do it or your family member do it, your uncle or your aunt, and you think, if they can do it, I can do it. Why can't I do it? So that place has just gone from my strength to strength in terms of the numbers and the number of activities that it puts on now.
That's excellent, and wishing them all the best as they keep going
Thanks.
forward. Let's just go back to our previous discussion that we were having, or previous point, should I say, that we were talking about in regards to any or the difference that you might have seen. Obviously, my time started around 2020, so for me, the way it is today, it has just substantially grown from what I saw from day one, which is you just think it's always been like that, right? So
Mm,
that's as far as I would go back. But um, if you were to like change one thing or pinpoint one thing that stands out to you most, what would it be?
pinpoint one thing that stands out to me most in terms of what?
In regards to like the change that you've seen or
The
what difference
change.
it has
Okay,
brought on.
yeah.
Obviously these days it's
Yeah.
more about influencers or social media has
Yeah.
kind of has
Yeah.
got a big part to play. Commercial element has grown so much in this space too, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying. I mean, I think the one thing that I would say, and I say this with a bit of tongue in cheek because obviously I've done it myself as well, but is that like normalization of running the marathon? Like I think
Mm.
that's the one thing that I think has certainly changed in my time is like people get into running and then the first thing they not the first thing, but like the second or third conversation is almost like marathon, marathon, marathon. And when I reflect back on my own journey, I got
Mm.
into running in 2019, and as I said to you, I didn't run my first marathon until 2022. So I'd had like a solid 3 years. And it didn't even occur to me until the end of my second year, the start of my third year about doing the marathon. Whereas now there's this massive, normalization of running a marathon. And I think we're at an important moment in the history of running where, as a community, I think we just need to just pause and reflect and think about that as well in terms of like
Mm.
what that means, what that projects to other people as well, and what the sport is about. Don't get me wrong, if you want to run a marathon, brilliant. The more people that are running, that are great. But the one thing that just stands out a lot, particularly I think in the last 18 months, is just like that normalization of like running a marathon. Running a marathon is not a normal thing. It's a very abnormal thing. It's a very, very, very hard thing to do. Really, really difficult. If you want
Yeah.
to do it, great, of course. But like it's become so normalized now. Like it's almost like, oh, I'm running 4 marathons, 5 marathons this year. I'm like, when did that happen? When did that become completely normal?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one is hard enough. It's tough enough as it is. And then lining them up one by one. I mean, I can totally understand why someone might do something like Chicago and New York back to back because, like, I mean, they're hardly spaced out if you see what I mean. But again,
Yeah.
the amount of immense pressure that you're putting on yourself, on your body, you need to go back to understand those foundations that we were talking about. And I mentioned them in the intro actually too. It just goes back to understanding your body. What are you fully
Mm,
capable of? And have you stretched out and pushed yourself to the extent where you'll be able to manage? The more you pile on, you're just asking for a disaster unless you've really got it managed really well, right?
I totally agree with you. And for me, it's about laying that foundation before you decide you want to step up to the marathon. So, maybe call me a bit of a traditionalist in my thinking, but I think, you shouldn't be thinking about doing a marathon until you've done at least like minimum a couple of years of running, 4 or 5 half marathon events,
Yeah.
understanding what it's like to go through a training program, understanding what race day is about, understanding your body, and really building like a real, solid volume and foundation of running under your belt before you decide you want to embark on the 16-week marathon training program. Because, you know, we talk about the marathon training program being a 16-week marathon training program, but it's 16 weeks with a lot of like experience under your belt. It's not a couch to 42.195 16-week
Absolutely. Yeah.
program. And that's like an interesting thing just to see that like change of like how like normal it's got. And there's part of me which struggles because I'm like, I had a great experience with the marathon and hopefully I'll continue to run more as well. So why should I be out there telling people not to do it as well? And everyone's journey is very different, right? So I have this sort of internal struggle in my head as well. It's like, well, I don't want to be the Grinch now. Just because I've done it doesn't mean like I should be telling everyone else not to do it. But it's just how it's become like so normalized. Is the thing that really sort of baffles me sometimes.
Yeah, I guess one thing is I mentioned it a few moments ago, social media, right? It's
Mm,
yeah, it does have its good good phases and bad at the same time too. But the emphasis made on and the points taken away from a bad perspective, I think kind of stick around longer with people in terms of them thinking that, yeah, I could do that. That person seems to just thrive through it. One thing we forget about is not everyone always mentions their weaknesses and the tough times that they go through, right? So
totally.
maybe everything has to be taken with a pinch of salt sometimes. And like you mentioned, everyone's journey is different. Everyone's abilities are different. Just because one person got up and they just went out, winged it, or you don't even know how much training they might have actually put into that. Sometimes not everyone's open and honest about it all, right? So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. You don't see the bad side to marathon training. There is a lot of bad side to marathon training. It's a lonely place. If you've got kids, married, it puts a strain on that as well. You've got a professional day job to live. You're not a professional athlete. You've got to go to work, function, be at the top of your game there as well. And then to add the marathon onto that, you sometimes people don't see that side, as you said, through social media. And don't get me wrong, social media has been a great thing in terms of driving the growth of running as well.
Yeah, it definitely has its strong points too, but there are things that we need to keep a lookout for sometimes and not just get so sucked into it. I think that's the point that you're trying to make.
And that's where I suppose having a community and having like a few really good friends around you can put your hand around the shoulder and just go, you know what, Nad, let's just like take you to one side and let's have a think about this as well. And so that's where like a running community, certainly like Muslim runners, is like really, really great because you'll find somebody that you'll just get on with, and then they can become your go-to person for advice, and they will give you a lot of sound advice as well.
Yeah, events, nutrition,
Totally.
gear 24/7. That channel's open, right? I mean, but yeah, that's something that's completely grown, and yeah, it's doing quite well, and it's inspiring many, and probably will continue to do so going forward. I mean, it's got us engaged, so that's the main thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's talk about your training. So, like, what's your go-to in terms of training? What do you fall back on?
So in terms of training, quite interesting actually. I mean, like the first couple of years when I sort of ran and I did half marathon events, I didn't like. I mean, I trained, but I didn't really have an appreciation for what like a proper structured training program was. It wasn't until I did maybe the big half in 23 or 24. So I use an app called Runner, which obviously a lot of people know about as well. That I used a proper like training plan and put a proper training structure to it as well. And then since then, I've seen obviously like the benefits of having a proper structured training plan as well. So my go-to for the last like big events that I've done has been Runner. For me, I think the jury's still out whether it's the right thing. It's quite aggressive, but obviously it's done the trick for me. And that's me having run for a couple of years, understood about myself, about my body, my ability before I've chose to like use a training plan. But that's been sort of the go-to for me, and like I said, it does seem to have done the trick and worked for me in terms of like what I wanted in terms of outcomes.
Yeah, to be honest, it's funny you mentioned that. Quite a lot of people, that's like the first thing they pick up. And again, that's a good example of what social media plays these days, right? I mean, because everyone's running to it or running towards it or using it. Let's stop using the word running there for a second. But because everyone's using it, it just feels like the most ideal thing to just pick up and like go ahead with, right? And uh, not ask any further questions as to whether there's an alternative or whether there might be something else that might suit people better. I can only share that off the back of my experience. I mean, I came to you about my plan prior to running London, the training of which started around like November 2024. And as you know, I didn't use that. I didn't even use it for Berlin. Because there are alternatives that you look at, right? And obviously I was able to share my plan with yourself, with a few others too, get the sign off that it worked well. And one thing is, I just like to say there are alternatives.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying like it's a bad app or anything like that. But as you said, it's about just like having that information and understanding the context in which you're operating. And I think something like Runner, I think is maybe is better for like people that have run for a number of years, as opposed to maybe someone starting out and hasn't quite like fully grasped like what training plan is about as well. I think there are maybe potentially better plans out there as well. But as you said, it's about like, if you're part of a community, you've got like a good support structure around you, people can advise and guide you on like, for you to think about. And as you did in yourself, I think my advice to you was quite clear and quite strong in that don't use Runner. I think there are better training programs out there for people who want to do their first marathon.
I mean, I use ChatGPT, and obviously, you like we studied it. Like you told me about Runner, I told you about what plan was that I pulled together off the back of ChatGPT, which again was based on something between Ben Parks's plans 1 and 2. Like that suited me perfectly, and that I knew that was something that I'd be able to keep consistent, stick to as best as possible, and when you have something like that, there's less likelihood of you saying, you know what, I have to give it a miss today, or I'm exhausted today, or I've already run so much today, there's no way I can do any more strength training, any more CrossFit, any more easy tempo longs, whatever, right? It was
Yep,
just
yep,
easy
yep.
for me to stick to as best as possible.
Yeah. No, no, definitely. And something like I think Ben Parks, as you said, is probably a bit more suitable for somebody that's starting out. And I suppose, it's always going to be a slight downside with using tools which have got AI algorithms with them as well. Whereas something like Ben Parks is a bit more bespoke and understands like where people are in a different and recognize, I suppose, different people are on a different journey with their marathon training. Like depending on where you are, you might want to choose something slightly different.
Hmm. Any injuries over the last couple of years?
You know what? I've been blessed. I've been blessed. I haven't had any major injuries since I came back from New York. I won't lie, my Achilles has been playing up a little bit. So, and given the fact that I don't have anything major planned for the rest of this year, and actually I don't even have anything major planned for next year as well. I think it's probably due a bit of a rest for a while now. So it's not like bad. I can still run, but it just hasn't felt right since I came back from New York. So I'm just sort of like keeping an eye on it a little bit. Because walking everything perfectly fine, but every now and then you just go for a little short run and you just think, well, that just doesn't feel right. So I have been blessed. I've been very, very lucky not to have any major injuries. I feel like I've been very lucky. Maybe lucky is not also the right word as well, because I have looked after my body. As you said, strength and conditioning. I go to a PT on a regular basis. For me,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, good stuff.
that stuff is all part of like just keeping it all in check.
Yeah. Yeah, that second opinion is always necessary, I'd say, right? You need to always don't just think you can shake it off. Sometimes if it stays around longer, prolongs a bit, I think you need to take the
Yeah.
action to make sure that you get it seen, get it checked out, and that should be the best.
Yep.
And obviously, like just going to touch base on my own experience,
Yep.
I took some advice quite lightly in terms of shoes and what size they should be and making sure that you get the right gait analysis. I just said, okay, you know what? I was just going to waste my time. So I'm going to push
Mm,
it to one side. What happened? I had to suffer the consequences. And
there
I've
you
shared
go.
that.
There you go.
I've
Yeah.
already shared that. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to go into
Yeah.
that a little further. But yeah, you remember that, right?
I
So,
remember that very well. It's not nice, is it?
no, absolutely not. I mean, tears of pain, man.
Tears of pain, man.
But I remember finishing the big half in 2024. And you were just like, "Oh, how's it going? Like, you're right." And I was like, "Nah, man, something's definitely not right." And I had the vitality literally like 10K 2 weeks after, two and a
Yeah.
half weeks
I
after that.
remember this so well.
Yeah, and so it was basically I gave myself like a year of halves, right? I end up explaining that to everyone. So I knew I was going to go for my first marathon in 2025, but before that, I wanted to kind of push myself through the like stretching and pushing my body out there and stuff. So I did the Hackney half, I did the big half, and I had signed up for the Leicester half in the same year. Hackney was amazing. Big half started feeling something. Vitality 10K signed off that there's definitely something not right there. And yeah, this person we have with us today, Ali Momin, was the person who told me, you know what, you need to you're not going ahead with Leicester. Honestly, just cancel that off your list. And I didn't even feel bad about that. It was kind of like I had to hear that, and someone had to give me that kind of push in that direction and just say, you know what, just allow it, leave it for this year.
Exactly.
And
That's why you need that community around you.
yeah, absolutely. What did I do? I switched off for at least a month and a half, put some good time into strength training, stretching, understood what is absolutely essential if I wanted to run and keep the running going. Yeah, no, haven't looked back to be honest.
Brilliant.
So what makes you go again?
You know what? What makes me go again? I think that's a really good question. I don't know. I think it's just love for the sport. Um, as I said, like, there's something for me, especially about the marathon. I think it's just I just love the structure, the process, the discipline of like putting a training block together, executing it, ticking the runs off one by one, seeing that progress. I think, for me, that's what what makes me go again. And obviously at the end of it, knowing that there's going to be an event where you're going to probably have lots of community, lots of people that that's probably the thing that keeps me going. Like I said, I'm very particular about what I put myself and sign myself up for. So like I'm not one of those that's just going to go from event to event to event. So for me, next year, 2026, I think we've had this conversation that I've got 2 events signed up, Big Half and Hackney. I don't even think Hackney. It's just going to be a social run for me. Big Half, I might think about starting to maybe put a bit more of a structured training block for it. But again, for me, next year is all about like taking it just
Mm-hmm.
that little bit more easier, because I did 2 back-to-back marathons this year, 2 big training blocks. So yeah, for me, for me, that's what keeps me going, is that it's just that ability to put a block together and execute it perfectly and just see the progress. And for me, like whether you hit your goals on the day or not, for me, it's like irrespective, because I think I get more joy out of the training block sometimes than actual race day experience, not race day experience, but like the race day result.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to be honest, I mean, let's just go back a bit to September, finishing Berlin when I did, and the state
Yeah.
that I finished it in, and how exhausting and chaotic it was. It was some kind words that you always listen to, and yeah, no, I have to say thank you for that. The kind points that you want to hear when you've been through something like that, because you're just
Definitely.
feeling awful. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you
Anytime,
for that,
man.
to
You
be
know what?
honest.
Like, for me, like this is what I've just loved about running. Like we've met through Muslim runners, that Battersea 10K, and we've just like become good friends.
Yeah, yeah,
2023, and we
2023,
can
right?
like
Yeah.
have that open conversation. I know if like you obviously it was a tough experience in Berlin, but again, you just pick up the phone. Like it was just second nature to me. It's like you just pick up the phone, give the guy a call, chat to him. You were on my list as well, Naz, and you know this. You were on my list. Actually, no, I called you after New York Marathon. You were one of my like. You were like
Yeah, you called me
exactly.
after you got
I
your
was like,
medal.
so
I was like,
like for
what?
me, like you're one of like my go-to guys now, man. I'm like, anything about running, it's got to be lads, man. So for me, that's the beauty of
Oh,
all of
that's
this. Like like from nowhere, like 2 people met each other, became great friends, support each other. That's what I love about this game.
yeah. It's all good memories, and it's definitely always nice to reflect and touch base on all this stuff again. I'm not going to go into what your plans are, because you've
Yep.
shared them already for the next year. But based on what you've learned all the way through, right? What would you advise someone who is starting today? Where should they start? And is there anything you would do
I mean,
differently?
look, I think the first thing is like, everyone's journey is different. So there's no right way of doing this as well. The one thing that I would just encourage people to think about is like, you know, build slowly, enjoy the process, enjoy the moments. Running is something that you want to do for a very, very long time, hopefully, right? And so you don't need to go and tick everything off within the space of like a couple of years. Like just think about the long-term goal. Like, you want to be running for 20, 30, 40 years. Um, and so if you break it down and look at it in that way, you've got a long time to achieve whatever you want to achieve. There's just no need to go around chasing all the big events, all the major milestones, the PBs, and all of that. Just enjoy the process,
Mm.
enjoy it, enjoy the journey, because like I said, that's the thing that's worked for me, that I've enjoyed the most. And it's less about like reaching that that destination, but more about enjoying that journey. And so my advice would be to anyone, however they wanted to start, is just take it easy, fall in love with the sport, get the enjoyment out of it. And then over time, naturally, you'll think about times, races, events, etc. You'll have your major milestones that you want to hit, but just let it come naturally. Don't force it. The moment you force it, I feel like you lose the love for it. It becomes painful, and then you question like, why am I doing this again? And you probably fall off love, fall away from running, and fall out of love with it quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we do it for the long run, right?
Totally, totally, totally. We do it for the long run, man. It's like it's life's a marathon, man. Life's a marathon. It's gonna go. You got a long time, man. You don't need to like do. It's like if you're running a marathon, you're not gonna hit that first 10K at like great speed. So just take the same analogy and apply it to running, man. It's going to be a long journey. You want to enjoy it for as long as you can. Um, so there's no need to try and like force the issue, force the agenda. Just go at your own pace, do it in your own time. And trust me, I think you'll get more satisfaction and joy doing it that way than trying to see it as a bucket list of things to get done. But that's my own personal view. That's what's worked for me. I'm not saying it works for others, but that definitely would be that one piece of advice I'd give to everyone.
Oh, good sound advice. So, Ali Momin, we were talking about Battersea not long ago. You just mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. One thing that it's a memory I always keep with me is meeting you and Sajjad at the same time. And Sajjad's been able to join us today.
How you doing, Ali?
I guess.
What's he doing here?
But I just want to say that I met you guys and you like literally painted the whole picture and the way forward for me. One thing that I can't forget is we ran, what was it? It was Hackney, right? We ran that together and went out for a meal after. And you guys promised me that, you know what? It was Sajjad actually. He said, you're going to come back next year and you're going to get your PB on Hackney. And I was like, okay, I guess this means I'm signing up to Hackney for next year. But I have to be honest, you guys, like, not only did you guide me, coach me all the way, but you actually paced me that day too. And yeah, man, that's something that I just can't forget. It's going to be one of the highlights of 2025. And that was just after London and before Berlin, obviously. But putting marathons to one side, I'm not going to forget that day. So I just wanted to say thank you to both of you at the same time. But Sajjad, what was New York like? And what was it like running with this dude over here?
So New York was incredible. I've done about 5 major marathons and I loved London. London was incredible. Home city, running around London was incredible. But New York was just another level. The crowds were insane. Everything was high. The energy was high. And there was a mile between, I don't know how many of you have done New York Marathon. Ali obviously did it with me, but between mile 8 and mile 9, Brooklyn was incredible. Like, I have never heard that many people in a 1 mile stretch. And I don't think I'll ever will unless I do the New York Marathon again. Just one of the best marathons ever. An incredible experience. And obviously sharing it with my very good friend, Ali Momin, was just the icing on the cake.
So what was the fondest memory that you guys had out there together?
So whilst running, I've never started a marathon with Ali, and so we actually did the first minute of the marathon together. But pre that, we spent a good 2 hours together. We won the coach together, and that is something I will always remember. In terms of the actual week, the week in New York was incredible. I mean, 4 people in a room. We were slumming it, and I got to share. I got to share a bed with Ali Momin, so a whole week.
Oh, God. Okay, the rating just changed for this.
No, but jokes aside, it was an incredible marathon. The energies were so high. The marathon was amazing, but sharing time with your friends was what I will cherish about the New York Marathon.
I was going to come into that. You know, Naz, like I got a spot in the New York Marathon through a ballot spot in 2024, right? And you know, to win a place like that in a lottery is like, it's like really unheard of. But I turned it down because I wanted to do it with my friends in 25 and to create more memories and for it to be more special. And in a way, I'm so glad I made that decision because I could have gone in 24 and I probably would have had a good time and I would have enjoyed it. But as Sajjad said, to do that with your friends, to experience that with your friends a whole week, it was already special, but it's made it more special than anything else.
Good stuff. No, good to hear. Sajjad, thank you so much for joining us. Just wanted to, you know what? I would say my relationship with Ali Momin is it's not complete without you being part of that, I would say, to be honest.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Almost feel like I have to throw you into the conversation to maintain that from time to time. But no, thank you so much. And obviously, well done. Fingers crossed we'll get our own one-on-one time with you too. Ali Momin, once again, nice to catch up, go through everything that you've been through over the last couple of years. That wisdom is great. I don't know how much Sajjad gets to hear of it or whether you just bounce ideas off each other like we do from time to time too. But keep that going, and no doubt you're going to keep inspiring many others going forward. Thanks, Naz. It's been a pleasure.
Now, just one more point.
Go for it, Sajjad. Go for it.
You were talking about Ali Momin and how well I know him and all that kind of stuff. All I will say is when I'm on my phone, the first thing my wife goes, "Are you messaging Ali Momin? Are you messaging Ali Momin?" So that's all you need to know about my relationship with Ali Momin. And I'm so pleased that I got to come on the podcast. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Look after yourselves, and hopefully we'll touch base on another episode of Running 101 very soon. Take care. Bye.